Happy day 60 of the program. As we work through our Feeding the Metabolism week and tweak, we're going to switch up the conversation today. And this is where I'm going to be joined by my special guest, Dr. Tam. Hello.
Good morning, Gina.
So Dr. Tam is a chiropractor. He's my chiropractor. I met Dr. Tam a few years ago. How long have I been with you now?
4 years?
4 years? Oh my goodness.
4 years, something like that. Yeah, I've been seeing you for a while now.
Yeah, so it actually, I seeked out Dr. Tam actually for my son, Rolex. He was in the hospital. People have been with us for a while now. Will remember he was in the hospital for about a month. He had lost 40 pounds. And by the time he got out of the hospital, he was walking like a hunchback. His, 30 pounds
right.
on a young man is a lot of weight. And I was really concerned about how this was going to affect him. He had lots of aches and pains. And so when I brought him in to start seeing you, obviously I realized that I needed some help too. But beyond that, it really got me thinking about our members and the amount of weight that they are losing. Now, mind you, they're losing weight in a healthy way, but they're still losing weight nonetheless. And through the conversations I had with you about the importance of proper body alignment, it really got me thinking about how losing a lot of weight affects our members. So something that I think a lot of people are just so happy to lose the weight, they don't actually think about the side effects of losing weight. So I want to talk to you about that today. Also have a lot of questions I want to go through, but I think the first thing we should talk about is you. What do you do? What is a chiropractor?
Yeah, great question. So a chiropractor is somebody who is what we call an MSK specialist. So essentially, we treat muscles, we treat joints, we treat bones, essentially anything on the outside of your body. I'd be an expert in.
Okay.
Anything from tennis elbow to knee arthritis, but mainly my day focuses mainly on low back pain, neck pain, headaches, posture, are kind of the majority of my day.
Posture as I completely sit up and correct my posture.
I saw that.
Before we get into our members and how someone would know if they would benefit, how about we talk a little bit about me? Because I see you every week. Obviously, I don't need to lose weight, but there is something to be said about, managing stress. For me, I get a lot of migraine headaches, or I used to. I'm on my phone a lot. And for that reason, I come and see you. So talk about the benefits just in general for going to see a chiropractor, just for basic health management.
Yeah, I think it should be the staple of everybody's body work done for themselves. I mean, my patients vary from the elite athletes who are, making a living with their bodies, to the nonna who's just trying to chase after their grandkids, and everybody in between, right? And you and I talk about it a lot, where everybody can be better, right? Whether you're in a lot of pain and we're just trying to get you moving even a little bit, or say like Rolex when we were getting him upright again. Post hospital, and then or anybody who's pretty good and just wants to be excellent, right? And that's where we come in, and treatments change, but anything between essentially is I talk about optimizing.
So what I love about bringing on our guests is we have people like you come and have these conversations where they may be interested in seeing a chiropractor or seeking out, alternative health measures or whatnot. And they don't have the opportunity to have like in-depth conversations. So what is a chiropractor? Like what exactly do you do, and what would people expect would happen when they go and see you?
Yeah. So first things first, we always do an assessment. So every all of your members, every single person's different. All the stuff we deal with is different. Our day-to-day lives are different. So we spend a good amount of time talking about that. What are the stressors of your life is a big one. What does your life really look like? And then we do a physical assessment. We see what's going on inside. What exactly are we trying to fix, or what exactly are we trying to make better? And then we treat it, and we put together a plan, and then we treat it. So things can look like with adjustments, where you think of traditional chiropractors with the snap, crackle, pops. Sometimes we throw some exercise in there, some muscle work, some stretches, some acupuncture, which I like to do a lot of, which is a great alternative. And then as well, if you're as lucky as I am to be in a big enough team, then you can work with some other health professionals who are also excellent at what they do, and then formulate a great treatment plan that way. But mainly hands-on treatment is what you're looking at.
So you mentioned stress. We try to like emphasize the
Hmm.
importance of managing stress. Managing stress is, one of the things we talk about with maximizing that can really help when it comes to people trying to lose weight. So how, like, talk about stress and how it impacts the body from your perspective.
Tons, right? And I would say, we know what we call, in scientific terms, we call it a psychosomatic manifestation. So essentially, any stress that your body deals with mentally will manifest itself physically. In a
Mm,
sense, it might make your pains worse. It might make you more stiff. It might make your perception of the pain worse. So the problem might
yeah,
not actually be that much worse, but when you're having a stressful week, you perceive pain to be worse. And even simple
yeah,
things like paper cuts will hurt more.
yeah,
And then from our perspective, that's why we talk about it. Right. So in my treatment room, a big thing I like to talk about is taking things off your plate. Right. We control
yeah.
the things we can control. And unfortunately, life happens. Right. And there's not a ton that we can do with certain levels of stress. Sometimes, say, Rollick's in the hospital. Right. And
Mhm.
so when we're dealing with stress, then that's where I come in and I take certain things off your plate. Like maybe I take the back pain off your plate,
Yeah.
or get some more mobility into your body. That way you can then focus on managing the things that are stressful inherently.
So, thinking of chiropractor, you might think like my back is out of alignment, obvious things that might need addressing, but who would benefit from going to see a chiropractor?
Yeah, everybody, I think, right? Like we talked about, I think there's everybody can be better, right? And I think it'd be silly to like I get adjusted weekly, right? Like
Yeah.
everybody can be better, and I think that's where between the patient and I, when we talk about it,
Yeah.
right? Where do you just want to be able to walk to get the mail pain free, a few steps
Yeah.
down the street, or are you trying to make the Olympics, right? Regardless of the case, I think everybody can be better.
So when someone's losing weight, so talk about the effects of losing weight and what that would do to someone's body structure and how and why someone would need to be adjusted because of weight loss.
Yeah. So, I mean, first things first, right? Losing a ton of weight does magical things for the body, right?
Yeah.
It takes exponential pounds of force off your knees, off your hips, off your back. So, after we lose a ton of weight, we should start to see a lot of our aches and pains start to
Yeah.
subside. And that's a great starting point, especially for people with knee and hip pain, is where all the research is based out of. Where if you can shed the weight, your body's just carrying less load. And if you think about, if you ever, had a backpack on your back all day, or you're carrying your kid around all day, right? And then as soon as you take the backpack off, you're like, oh my God, I feel like a feather.
Yeah.
Right. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what I think your body will tell you after losing, 20, 30, 40, however many pounds on your joints. With that being said, a lot of the times the things that do bum us up and cause us some aches and pains, especially in our backs and hips, are a product of our day-to-day life. Unfortunately,
Mhm.
there it's, spending an hour each way driving to work. It's sitting all day because you're an accountant and it's tax season right now.
Yeah.
Or you're stuck in a snowy climate like us in the wintertime, and you're not getting a ton of physical activity because tennis is your sport of choice,
Yeah.
what have you, right? And I think that's where again I come in, right? Where even if you have lost all the weight or a lot of the weight and you're still getting some aches and pains, okay, then we can start to deconstruct. What is it about your daily life that's really affecting your body negatively? And then either one, let's work with you to do something about it, or two, let me do something about it and just take it off your plate again,
Yeah,
right? And make it disappear
that's what I you say this to me all the time.
all the
Well,
time.
you could manage your stress better, or you could exercise, you could do all these things, but given the fact that you're not doing that, I just really leave it up to you every week to kind of
Yeah, and I mean, I try not to take advantage of the system, but at the end of the day, right? Like I think, I'm a dad, right? I have a job, I'm a husband, right? Like we have things to do and priorities, right?
Yeah,
And sometimes, to be the bearer of bad news, right? If you could have, done the hour of exercise, if you could have stretched for an hour, if you could have gone in the hot tub for half hour, et cetera, you would have done it
yeah,
already, right? And it takes,
yeah,
so much more time than giving me, 15 minutes or 20 minutes of your time, right? Which is
yes.
again efficient.
Yes, it's more costly for my health than not doing those things, but it is what it is, and that's how I'm maintaining it right now. So would
Hmm.
you suggest somebody lose their weight first and then go see you, or would it be a benefit if they, someone loses 20 pounds and 40 pounds, 60 pounds, and obviously if someone, I'm thinking some of our members, losing over 100 pounds, like at what point, where's the threshold? At what point do they come and start seeing you or taking into account all of this change on their body? And then to your point, if their body is changing and then they're still sitting a certain way every day, or they're still doing these things that aren't great for their posture, or even the way they walk, I would imagine, where your body's adjusted to the way that you walk with the weight. You take 100 pounds off, and the way that your weight is changing, and maybe that's when you start to actually have some issues in your body. Sure, it takes the pressure off, but it's just the change in the way that you're walking. So what
Hmm.
was my question? Yeah, so at what point should they come and see you?
Yeah, I think at any point, right? Like I think regardless of the checkpoint you're at in your journey, I think you would benefit, right? So say you're starting off and you're trying to lose the weight and you're trying to add some exercise into your day. Well, amazing. But like we talk about, good stress, like exercise, is still stress on the body, right? It
Yeah,
contributes and helps in your weight loss journey, but it's still stress, which means your body still takes more of a more of a beating, which then
right.
needs care. And then as
Yeah.
you get you lose the weight more and more, your body's changing, things are happening, and regardless of where you are, right? If your aches and pains aren't 100% gone, well, then that's where we intervene and expedite the process,
Mm,
right? And who
right.
knows, maybe when you're down 30 pounds, by the time you're down 50, all the pain's gone away. Maybe not. I don't know, right? But that's
Right.
where having a professional assess and take a look and essentially expedite the process. And maybe if you're more mobile and you are more pain free and you can do more things, maybe your weight loss journey is faster.
Maybe this might be the obvious, but what do you see people doing every day that you wish that they wouldn't do, or things that they could just do to just not only to just to feel better in their ever-changing bodies? Like, do you look at people who are hunched over and be like, "Oh my god, if you just like rolled your
Oh.
shoulders back." What are the really super simple things that you think people underestimate doing that when compounded have them end up seeing you at the end of the day?
Oh, it's the sitting, Gina, by far and away. It's the sitting, it's the sedentary behavior. And I think for the most part, it's not so much sitting a lot, it's sitting a lot in a row. Right. So I always go back,
Mm.
accountant during tax season, or if you're a programmer of some sort, you work on the computer, something I know nothing about.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but you're essentially, if you're clocking in 2, 3, 4 hours in a row because your job is so focused, it's so intense, or you're on a 2 hour meeting or whatnot, that's the big one I find, is that's where that really gets you. And I think unfortunately the message we're sold is, okay, well, let me sit for 8 straight hours, commute
Yeah.
to and from work an hour each way, and then my 15-minute stretching routine when I get home is going to really undo that entire workday. And I think that's the bag of goods that we're sold, and it's false. It doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
It's just too much on the body all at once. And that's why the biggest thing I talk about is getting up frequently. Like if you can take breaks every half hour, 45 minutes, the breaks don't even have to be long. The breaks can
Yeah.
be 15 seconds, right? Like I can ask, I don't think I'm asking a lot when I ask for 15 seconds of your time every 45 minutes or so. And I think if people start doing that, I think their bodies would really, really benefit to break up their day.
I just noticed that I have 2 watches on. I grab a normal watch and I have my Fitbit on from not my Apple iWatch that I have for sleeping, but it pisses me off whenever it says to me, "You should get up and walk around now." I'm like, "Oh, fuck off. No, I'm not getting up and walking around." But I guess to your point, there's probably a reason for it, and it
You can
probably really helps get your body moving, take some
you
stress
can
off your
hear my
body.
voice through that Fitbit, eh, Gina?
I should add your voice into
Oh
the
boy.
app. Dr. Tam says, "Get up and move your body." My goodness. Let's talk about sleep. A lot of people want to know about sleep and body positions, certain pillows that they're using, like, so you're not waking up with a kink in your neck. But talk about the importance of sleep and your body position.
Yeah, so I think this one's, sometimes I feel like I'm answering is not how I think a lot of people expect. But body position doesn't really matter when you're sleeping. And I
No?
say that because when we look at the research, the research tells us we move subconsciously every 45 minutes, anyways, when we're sleeping. Without our control,
Okay.
without waking up, our bodies shift and move and will find different positions. That's why you might fall asleep in one position and wake up in a completely different position. And there's nothing
Yeah.
we can do about that as you're sleeping. But the big thing is with a lot of people, yeah, when you lose a bunch of weight or your body changes a ton, that mattress might not be for you anymore.
Yeah.
Right? If you're down a ton of weight,
Yeah.
most people will then prefer a firmer mattress over a softer one when you've lost a bunch of weight relative to what you were sleeping before. Not to
Right.
mention all the mattresses and things that you sleep on, they have a lifespan, right? So if it's kind of like your couch. If you sat in, slept in the same spot, for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years at the same weight, they'll mold to your body, right? And then you
Mm,
take 30 pounds off, all of a sudden it's like you're sleeping in somebody else's bed, right? And I think
yes.
that's where it might be a good idea to invest in a good one, something that feels comfortable for you.
Oh my goodness. I mean, this is why I love these conversations because these are things like you may not be sleeping comfortably and all of a sudden people are like, I don't know what's going on. Meanwhile, you've dropped all this weight, your body position is off, your bed. I mean,
Mhm.
Tony and I just got a new bed. Our bed had this like weird thing where it was sinking down and to one side. I'm like, yeah, it's fine. And he's all like, it's not fine. It's not
Yeah.
we just got a new bed that we have the luxury of buying a new bed. I know some people cannot always do that. Maybe that's where, getting a pillow or something like that might come in. What about when we wake up in the morning? Are stretches overrated? Are you a fan of stretching? When's the best time to stretch? Is that a thing?
Yeah, I'm not opposed to stretching in the morning just because we'll always feel the stiffest in the morning, right? Just
Yeah.
because you've been still for, I'll give you 6 to 8 hours of sleep, right? And just like if we were in a car for 6 or 8 hours, if we were driving down, taking a road trip, right? We would be sore if we didn't get out of the
Yeah.
car for that long. And so the
Yeah.
same things happen when we wake up sore or stiff. And that more so than anything is a representation of really how good is your back doing, right? Where,
Yeah.
if your back is really good, we'll call it an A, like an A plus, right? You shouldn't wake up with aches and pains and whatnot. And on the vice versa, if you're not doing so great, you might wake up a little stiff or a little sore. But that's where, a
Yeah.
quick, super, super gentle stretch, not even getting out of the bed, maybe some knees into your chest, maybe rolling around a little bit before you actually get on your feet. I think that's when
Yeah.
it's a good time to stretch. And then hopefully your body loosens up as the day gels on.
Let's talk about working out because you had mentioned to me a few weeks ago that I should probably do some resistance training. Now, why would that be? Why would people need to be adding resistance training? Everyone thinks weight loss, cardio, cardio, cardio. I'm a massive fan of
Mhm.
exercise, great compliment to the program. When it does come to lifting weights, though, people lift heavy weights, that can be very taxing on the body, ripping and tearing muscles. People obviously want to make sure they get lots of rest. But, why would resistance training be a benefit? And what kind of resistance training are we talking about? Are we talking like you should lift super heavy to build muscle or just kind of use the muscle
Mhm.
you have? What would you want to see people doing?
Yeah, well, let's start with should we be doing resistance training, right? And I think
Yeah.
absolutely, without a doubt. And I think there's kind of two angles at this where when we build more muscle, our body's metabolism speeds up, right?
Yeah.
And that's just really basic science there, where it will then encourage again your weight loss journey to even speed up even more. You'll burn more calories, you'll move more, you'll be more mobile, you'll be more functional.
Yeah.
Is the big one. And then secondly, it helps your bodies in other ways, and that it strengthens your joints and your bones, right? Especially when we get past and I don't like to use the word old, but anything north of 30, honestly, um, our body is in a slight decline, a very very slow decline, right? It'd be there, but more so than anything is we need to do things that challenge our body. And I think
Mm.
sometimes when it comes to exercise, a lot of the times we like to do things that are easy, right? And things that are comfortable. And I
Yeah.
use mall walking as the example, right? And I don't mean to be a jerk at 9 a.m. but walking the mall and shopping does not count as exercise, right? I hate to burst that bubble, or we actually have to do things that are, even a little bit difficult in order to
Yeah.
call it exercise.
Yes.
And when it comes to exactly what type, how heavy, how many reps, I'm going to change the tune a little bit, because I think sometimes we miss the forest from the trees, right? And I think for the majority, the vast, vast majority of people we're talking to, we're not doing anything, right? And I think
Yeah.
the honest truth is that most people don't do any exercise, if not any resistance training in specific. So my message is always pick something you like, right? I don't care how good weightlifting is or swimming is for you. If you hate it and you don't feel like you're a fish, well, how good is that for you to get a pool membership, right? Where, it's not so much about exactly what you do. When you get there, we can have that conversation. If you are, on your way to the Olympics, we can have that conversation. But I think more importantly than anything, right, it's pick something that you like, enjoy it, stick with it, and then do as much of it as you can, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's the more important message. If you like to lift heavy, great. There's a ton of benefits of lifting heavy. If you like to lift light or resistance band or no weights or body weights, great, do that, right? And then
Yeah.
on the flip side, even if you do like, say, if you're a runner and you like to run, right, maybe mix in some sprints or some hill running in there.
Yeah.
That'll change up the game a little bit, which will take forms of resistance training, right? There's so many different ways to mix up exercise, and I think the better question is, what do you like to do? How do we do more of that rather than square peg a round hole?
So obviously exercise can be a compliment. What about you take someone who's dropped 60 pounds, all of a sudden they start exercising. Is there something to be said about exercising? I mean, I'm a big stickler when it comes to technique with exercise,
Mhm.
because the last thing you want to do is take your old body posture and then start building muscles around that frame. Like you technically have a new frame. So I'm thinking it would be a good compliment if you are new to exercising, that you do incorporate someone like yourself or bring awareness to body alignment, so that when you're kind of rebuilding your body back again, you're doing it with proper body alignment. Yeah.
Yeah, that's spot on, Gina. I'm with you on that one. I think there's no argument that when you change your body, you just have more abilities, right? You can
Yeah.
now raise your arms over your head. You can now squat lower down into the ground. The consequence of that is, you haven't done that for X amount of years, however long you've had your old body, so your old frame, so to speak, right?
Yeah.
And so getting a lot of those new ranges of motions taken care of is really important, so that, like you said, you can actually execute the right technique, right? And I think
Yeah.
before we have the are we doing the proper technique conversation, we have to think about, can I even get there?
Yeah.
Am I able to maintain a flat back? Can I have,
Mm,
can I even roll my shoulders back because
mm.
I've lost 40 pounds, but I'm still, a lawyer during trial season, right? Right? Like we have to actually be able to execute the proper positioning. That way we can then have good technique.
Yeah, I love this conversation because we're always talking about awareness around here, right? How your body's responding to the program and your hunger levels and your portions and all that. But, we don't really talk a lot about awareness of your changing body and body composition and how you're incorporating these new things into your new lifestyle and the changes that you're making and how you're living your life. Like, if you're super busy and you go all day without eating, that's one thing, we're bringing awareness to that. But if you're literally hunched over at a desk or on your phone all day, that can be just as detrimental to your health and wellness, which obviously is going to affect how your body is functioning, which at the end of the day is going to play into you reaching your goals. Let's talk about the difference between
Mhm.
like being a what do you call it? Chiropractic care, chiropractic.
Mhm.
What do you
Yeah,
call
I'm a
it?
chiropractor. I practice chiropractic. Yeah.
Chiropractic care, massage, and acupuncture. Do they all kind of fit in? What's the, because I know you do acupuncture as well. So what's the difference?
Yep.
What's the difference in the benefits there? Like if my body's sore, am I going to go see a chiropractor? Am I going to get acupuncture, or am I just going to go for a massage at the end of the day?
Yeah, great question. We'll start with myself. As a chiropractor, and this is the joke I make, and I say it a little bit tongue in cheek. What makes me a doctor is I can do whatever it takes to fix the problem, right?
Mm.
Whether it's muscle work, whether it's work on the joints and bones in your body, whether I think
Yeah.
acupuncture is the right fit, right? And that's where being in a larger team is beneficial, because then I get to then manage, right? Where I
Mm.
can say, hey, Gina, looks like you could use some acupuncture because of ABC.
Yeah.
And then we divert and we manage from there. Or hey, it looks like you can use a massage, and then we pass you on to the next excellent practitioner we have here, right? And that's where I think having somebody manage your care is really important. Somebody that can be an overseer, so to
Yeah.
speak. Um,
Mhm.
but all kind of targeting the problem from a different perspective, right? Where I target it from a very direct, head-on approach of adjustments and muscle work, versus acupuncture, especially traditional Chinese medicine acupuncture, is excellent at dealing with other things that might also affect your problem. Say things like stress, like energy levels, like mood, right? And I'm sure most people have had at least a massage in their life where I don't have to explain the benefits of taking time to yourself, getting some Zen done, and
Yeah.
really feeling good, leaving there and just, giving back to your body, right? So I think they're just all different avenues to target the same or similar problems. But I think the key is to have somebody to manage your care, somebody like myself who can oversee the problem.
Oversee, yeah, because we kinda use different techniques based on sort of what I'm dealing with that week and where I'm at.
Mhm.
I have come seen you before where I have certain injuries. Sometimes you suggest acupuncture, especially when my stress levels are through the roof. Is there a different kind of someone just asked about different kinds of, chiropractic care, like what a regular chiropractor versus an active release chiropractor versus whatever. Is there a difference?
Kind of, and it's a tricky question to answer because going back to my joke of what makes me a doctor is I can do whatever I want and whatever it takes to get you better, and not a lot of times is a preference, right? Where you have chiropractors that only do adjustments and that's all they do, right? Very
Yeah,
quick, 2 to 5 minute appointment, bang bang, in and out.
all over the place. Yeah, okay.
That's right. You got somebody, and then you might have somebody like myself, who I like to think of myself as a good blend, a little bit of anything that needs to accomplish the task, and then you have some other chiropractors who maybe like to focus a little bit more on exercise, a little bit more. They practice probably a little bit closer to like a physiotherapist, where they
Yeah.
work on rehab and strengthening and a lot more different machines in their office. And so it's a tough question to ask because it's hard to tease out exactly um, who's the right fit for you. But I always like to say, are you happy with your care? Right? As the person, you go see the chiropractor in town, or whoever, the practitioner. At the end of the day, are you happy and are you getting the results you want? And I think that's the be all and end all metric. And if you are, it's a little bit irrelevant of what techniques they use, as long as you're reaching their goals and they're working with you. And then vice versa. If you're not happy, you've given it a month, 2 months, 3 months, you're not seeing a big change, then
Right.
then maybe it's time just to get a different pair of eyes on it, right?
Well, someone says, please ask about sciatic nerve piriformis muscle issue. Now, obviously, that's a loaded question. We don't know anything about that person, but if someone came to
Right.
you with that issue, this is where you might sort of incorporate a variety of different techniques. I would imagine people who deal with a lot of chronic issues will come and see you in terms of, just treating. Are they ever going to go away? Is there any? Can you hear me now?
Hello, hi, Gina. I can hear you now. Sorry, you cut out there for a second.
Did you hear the question? Someone was asking about sciatic nerve, just talking about chronic issues in general. Obviously people would use different techniques for that, and how often someone would go see you, I guess would depend on the issue that they're dealing with. And then what's the probability of actually addressing those? Are these ongoing chronic issues and it's just a matter of living with them, or can you actually like help them go away? I know that's a lot of questions in one, I know.
Yeah, yeah, and again, I think going back, it is patient specific, so it's hard to address that exact member's concerns. But I think for the most part, and this is where, working together with your practitioner and putting in strategies, especially at home, are important. Where a
Oh,
lot
okay.
of our aches and pains are a product of our day-to-day life. Right. And so a good example I like to use is bathing your kids. If you have young children, you'll know what I'm talking about, where there's not actually a good ergonomic way to give your kids a bath. You're either on
Yeah.
your knees on the side of the bathtub, you're
Yeah.
straddling the bathtub, or you put on a pair of swim trunks and you're
And you're
in
in the
there
bathtub.
soaking wet. Right. There's not actually a good way to conquer that problem, right? It's just something you suck through, and it is what it is, because hopefully your children won't be children forever and you're not bathing them forever.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. And that's a good example of where, okay, there are these stresses in our day-to-day life that we can't change that are contributing to your problem. And I think that's a lot of times the result of chronic pain, where,
Right.
if there are things that, are problematic, say, we'll use being on your cell phone all day, right?
Yeah.
Your example of somebody who's in sales or whatnot, or marketing is a good example where, okay, well, maybe that's when we work with some ergonomic changes to give you some assistance, right? So you've heard me say things like, let's get you a wireless keyboard when you are
Yeah.
just crushing emails, and there it is, right? On your phone all day, right? Or if you're planning on, doing a lot of emails, then maybe we get you a laptop riser that we bring up to eye level. Or, if you're at work, maybe we get you a sit stand desk, or we get you a better setup, maybe even on your kitchen counter, right? It doesn't have to be expensive or tricky, but we do need to make changes to the stressors if we want the stress to go away. Right. And I
I'm
always use the example of the sprained ankle, right? Where if you sprain your ankle and you come in and you see me and you say, hey, doc, fix my ankle. I say, no problem. Right. And then I fix my ankle, we high five, and I say, see you later. The problem is if you then go and walk out my door and then sprain your ankle for 8 hours for the next day, for 5 days a week, we're having a
yeah.
very different conversation about, like, hey, Gina, can we stop spraining our ankle here? Or how do we get you better shoes? How do we get you better support? Maybe there's some exercise you can be working on to stop spraining your ankle, all of these things, right? So I think the first step is differentiating, is our problem a chronic stressor that we can change and do something about? Or did you unfortunately slip on ice and, it caused a problem in our back, which I can fix, address the root cause and then make it go away. Right. So I know that's a
Yeah.
whole lot of jargon to answer this member specific question.
No, I know. It's exciting because what you're saying is even with chronic issues, there's a lot that you can do. You can actually address sort of the issue, the muscles, wherever it is. And then on top of that, you have to take a look at your daily life. To your point, when I come and my shoulders are up like this and all hunched over, and you like help me release all that, and then I feel amazing. And then I'm back on my phone like this. I'm not taking the time to look up. I'm not doing any stretches. I'm not moving my body. I'm not being aware of my posture. I mean, this is why I have to go see you every week. This is not the ideal scenario for everybody to be able to have to go see someone every week to fix all the shit that they're doing to themselves during the week. So I think that's exciting. I'm cognizant of time and where we're at in your time. So I do have a couple other questions. What about inflammation? We talk about inflammation all the time in the program. Inflammation, one of the reasons why your weight can be slower to move with this process. So how does how does seeing a chiropractor help with inflammation in the body?
Yeah, good question. I think and this is where a lot of times we use words, or we talk in layman's terms, right? And I think a lot of times in my world, when it comes to aches and pains in the body, back pain, neck pain, when we say inflammation, we really mean pain. Right.
Yeah.
When people say, I've got a ton of inflammation in my shoulders, I got some inflammation in my hips or whatnot. Sure. Sometimes there can be true inflammation, like say when you get bit by a bug and something swells up, or you roll your ankle. But a
Yeah.
lot of time when we say inflammation, what we really mean is I'm uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's where I come in is to figure out, is it truly inflamed, or is there a root cause of the problem? Is there a joint stuck in your body that's not moving the way, and it's giving you a lot of pain signals because your body won't move the way you want it to move? That's which we can fix. and
Yeah.
there's not any true inflammation in there. But I think that's just, you know, what I get a lot or I hear every day is, you know, that we use the word inflammation synonymous with pain.
Yes.
And more importantly is, yeah, let's take care of the pain or the problem rather than, you know, addressing what we think is inflammation.
Yeah, I remember I've gone to see you and there's been times that I've swore I've thrown my back out and I'm like, "Oh my goodness." There was a time, Tony, where you had to like help me go to the bathroom for a couple days. Like I just thought, "What have I done? I'm getting old. Like I've pinched this thing." And then I went to go see you and you're like, "No, it's just inflamed. We do a couple adjustments to take the pressure off it." And then all of a sudden the next day I'm just like, "Oh my goodness." You know what I mean? And here I thought like I was going to be out for weeks and it was really just like I'm inflamed. Was it my joints or my like it's aggravated, and that is what was
Yeah.
causing me to feel that pain.
Yeah, it was just restricted is the term we use, right? So that
Yeah,
joint or a couple of joints, whatever you did back then, you know, they just weren't moving correctly, right? And they were
yeah,
getting stuck, so to speak, which is why it was hard to stand up straight and it was hard to, you know, make your way to the bathroom, right? But that's where addressing the root cause of the problem is
yeah.
so much more effective, right? Because you were back on your feet the next day versus then say popping a Tylenol and blocking the
Yes. Well, and that's where, when it comes to weight loss too, you're in pain, you're popping Tylenols, it affects your appetite, your body is stressed out, you're extra tired, like all of these things factoring in it. And someone says on the program, "Well, I don't have much of an appetite." Meanwhile, you're in chronic pain and popping Tylenols
pain.
all the
Hmm.
time, right? Or you're like, "Oh, my energy is just what's wrong with me? I don't have energy." Meanwhile, your back is out of alignment and you're exhausted from it. That's what happens a
Hmm.
lot of times
Hmm.
with me. I just get tired and I'm like, "What's happening? Like ribs out or whatever it is, you
Hmm.
know?"
That's right.
And a lot of times people are like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me?" And not thinking about what's happening in our body and also
Mhm.
how much it's changed when losing weight as well. Such an important conversation. I do want to ask about dehydration. Like, how
Mhm.
does that affect the body? I'm a big believer in people drinking enough water to be hydrated. When people go get a massage, they're told to drink lots of water afterwards. You've said to me,
Mhm.
go drink some water. How does that factor in to this conversation?
Yeah, I mean water is super important from an energy, like you said, like an energy levels perspective, and just fueling your body, right? The large majority of our body is made up of water, and without it, you're right,
Yeah.
it can absolutely have a huge effect on our mood, our energy, and then from my perspective, how much you want to move your body, right? And then if we haven't picked up on the theme yet, I'm a movement guy. Move, move, move,
Yeah.
right? Move more is the key. And if we can't because we're not fueling our body properly, we're not putting in the good gas, the good fuel in our car, then how can we expect to have good energy to then tackle the problems, let alone everyday stuff, let alone in addition to weight loss, in addition to, you know, back pain, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So people are gonna wanna come and find you. Obviously, we have people in 52 countries, not everyone can come and see you. So what should someone look for in a chiropractor? Like, what are the kinds of questions first of all, how would they find someone? Like, well, we'll let people know how to find you specifically, but how would they find someone, that they can trust and go to? What should they look for? What kind of questions should they ask? Should they just wait until they have problems, or is it one of those things that's it's good to get an assessment and a baseline with where you're at? Like some advice there?
Yeah, you nailed it on the head. I think having a baseline is so important
Yeah.
because it is easier to manage your body when it is half decent and making that
Mm,
better rather than
mm,
digging your body out of the ditch, right? Because that's really hard or much harder.
yeah,
And then not to mention you're in pain then, right? Like
yeah.
would you does everybody wait for their car to break down before you take it for an oil change or
Yes.
should you probably get regular oil changes, right? Like I think that's a good idea. I think if there's any mechanics in the group, they can back me on this one, right? It's probably good to do some regular maintenance on your car because it's it's one of your biggest assets, as is your body, right?
Good
And
point.
without that, you're in trouble, right? And I think when it comes to finding a chiropractor, I think that the key is to one. Find the right fit from a personality perspective, right? Like you and I jive, Gina, but you know, it might not be for everybody, so to speak. But I think the key is one, having somebody who, takes the time to listen to the problems. And then two, more importantly, fixes the problems. right? I think, like I said, if you have to be happy with your care, and the person you're working with, and regardless of how much you gel personality wise, as long as they listen to you, they're caring and whatnot, but your back pain is flaming, well then, what are we doing, right? And then vice
Yeah.
versa, right? Some people might be excellent with their hands, but if they're not nice, or people, or they're not, you don't find a right fit for you personality, they don't listen to you, whatever the case may be, they're probably not going to get the results that you want, nor do you want to see them regularly because they're a pain in
Yeah.
your rear end.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it's great. Like, I'm so blessed that I am able to go see you each week. For many reasons, other people might not be able to do that. But I think it's about what you said there is really, and maybe go see a couple different ones, and maybe can they interview you? Can they come and like, can you go and meet a chiropractor and spend 10 minutes and kind of get to know them? Is that something that is standard in the industry?
Yeah, I think so. At least from what I gather, like I'll do consults here and there, depending on
Yeah.
if people think are nervous or they're not sure about their case. Maybe a lot of people
Yeah.
have more complex problems, like with other
Yeah.
other health stuff going on. Whether is it the right
Yeah.
time, is it the right fit? I just had hip surgery, for example, right? Are
Yeah.
are good examples of that. But yeah, I think for the most part, I think if a practitioner isn't willing to sit down and have a 5-10 minute conversation with you, if they're right fit, they're probably not the right fit, I'd like to say.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, talking to your friends, your family, looking for referrals, because I think what you're looking for in putting together a healthcare team for yourself, which we're all about people being advocates for their health and wellness, is somebody who actually cares. They're looking at the big picture. Now, maybe you're
Mhm.
only seeing them once a month, but you're also, taking their advice and moving your body and, managing
Mhm.
your stress and doing all those other things that you've suggested that people can do outside of like waiting until there's an issue to help better manage their health. Someone who has an idea of what you're doing, where you want to go, especially if you're on a big, massive weight loss program as well, if you've lost a lot of weight. Someone I think who's equally invested in your health, as I know that you are in mine. We constantly have conversations. How are you doing this week? What do you have coming up? Where are you at in your
Mhm.
stress? Rather than, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but people think of chiropractors are like, oh, my back's out, let me just call anybody and have them go crack me, fix me, and then I'm fine. Where, you might want to consider adding a chiropractor to your health and wellness team, especially when your body is in a constant state of stress, like we are on this program and plan. So, I mean, you're amazing. If people are lucky enough to seek you out, and if you have room for people, except during my time slot, don't give that away. I booked in for the next year, so I'm good. We will put Dr. Tam's information on the screen, but where can they reach out? I know we have people listening to our podcast right now, so where can people who are listening reach out and find you?
Yeah, on social media, on Instagram, you can find me at Dr. Tam Chiros,
Okay.
DrTamChiro. I'm on Facebook. You can Google me. And then if you're in the Toronto area, I'm my practice is in Aurora. I'm at the Wellness Group. And
Okay.
so you can find me there and book an appointment there, but not on Gina's time.
But, amazing. Thanks again. I can't wait to continue and have this conversation next time you're coming back, whether you know it or not. Thanks for your
Yes.
time today. I think it's such an important conversation, and it's a consideration that people really don't factor in with how much their bodies are changing and bringing awareness to that. So, thank you very much for your time, Dr. Tam. Have an
Thanks,
amazing day.
Gina. It was fun.
Gina, we have to just do the YouTube CTA.
Like me, love me, click here, watch our shit, one of those things. Hi everyone, thanks for watching. Subscribe to my site, no, YouTube. Hey there, hi there, how's it going? Thanks for watching. We are always adding new videos focused on maximizing and leveling up your journey towards your finally and forever weight loss goals. So don't forget, how are they not forgetting? Don't forget, subscribe here. Good. What does this even say? Okay, that's the sentence. I want to do at least one good one. I can't do it.
It's difficult for you to do.
Guys, it feels so weird. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to click subscribe and visit us over on our website, GinaLivy.com. This feels so like...
This feels cheesy too?
Yeah, let me try to do it in like the real super professional way. We're gonna let you know whenever there's something new for you to watch if you join our incredible community by clicking the subscribe button. If you don't, you, we're not gonna tell you. No. wasn't it, was it?